date is April 10th. This is an interview with Charlie White. I am Molly Whitehorn, and we are also with Dr. John Bass. Okay, to get things started, just for the record, could you please state your name?
My name is Charlie White. I'm a DJ, producer, engineer, lots of other things, but in music, those are the three things I am.
Okay, cool. And if you don't mind telling us, can you tell us what year you were born?
1988.
Okay, cool. So to start things off, could you tell me a little bit about your childhood in Charlottesville and like about your parents, like were they musicians?
Yeah. I grew up in Charlottesville, Virginia. It's a college town similar to like Knoxville. It's University of Virginia. My parents were heavily involved in music, not really musicians, but just force feeding me Michael Jackson and soul music. So it's fitting that I ended up in Memphis because of my parents' love for soul music,
Mm-hmm.
and just happened to be transcended into the city with so much history with soul music.
Mm-hmm. So how did you first start DJing? Like how did that?
I was the kid that wanted to be in control of music at parties.
Uh-huh.
If it was a 7th grade dance, 8th grade dance, I wanted to play the music. So it wasn't really like a career back then, it was just a love for wanting to control the crowd and just have that feeling of I picked a song that made everybody, go crazy.
Yeah.
So when I started DJing, it was around 9th grade, 10th grade. I saved up money for turntables. It wasn't really a process that came overnight. I mean, yeah, it wasn't a process that came overnight. It took time and really building the craft and practicing the art before I actually did my first performance, which was 11th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was my first, or 10th grade was my first performance. So it was practicing in my room, just scratching, the art of turntablism. It wasn't really party rocking yet. It was more of bedroom DJ, headphones on,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out the instrument of the turntables. That's kind of what I wanted to do, really study it as an instrument.
Okay, cool. So you came to Memphis to go to University of Memphis, correct?
Yeah, I first wasn't sure if I wanted to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated high school in 2006, and I kind of decided that if I wanted to go to school, it was for music. And University of Memphis has a recording program that's not offered in the state of Virginia. So I got an in-state rate and made the move here in 2007
Okay,
for
cool.
recording technology.
So you came for the school, like you didn't know much about the city? I
Not
guess,
much
then?
besides just the history. I didn't really know much about, I didn't know anybody here. My family all lives in Virginia, so
Mhm.
my parents dropped me off, dorm room, and I've been here ever since, but I love it. It's
Yeah.
been, I started my career, I would say I started my career here because it was more of a hobby, love, passion
Mm-hmm.
in Virginia, but this is where I started, doing what I love for a career.
Okay, so how did you start to get involved like on the Memphis music scene, like with local
First it
musicians?
was parties for University of Memphis and Rhodes. I've done Rhodes parties, Christian Brothers, and then I got involved DJing with Memphis artist Al Capone.
Mhm.
I was his DJ for a couple of years, and that led to meeting Free Soul, a band from Memphis, and it was just, like I said, it took time. It wasn't something that just started overnight. I did a lot of free college step shows, parties, house parties, fraternity parties. It kind of just took off from there, building a relationship with Red Bull in Memphis, their market here.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I did.
Okay, cool. So do you think you could do what you're doing right now, like in other cities? Like, why is it special to do it in Memphis?
For me, Memphis has the history of soul music, and that is what I love. As far as production, I DJ and I'm open format, so I spin all types of music, electronic, hip hop, R&B, top 40. But production, it's sampling, and
Mhm.
Memphis has such a rich history in soul music. So when I'm digging in records from here, and I'm looking through the Stax catalog for records to sample, it kind of fits into what I love to do as far as production and making instrumentals with the samples from 70s and 80s and 60s and all that music that has, sample qualities that I can take and chop up and produce my own beats to.
Mm-hmm. So, like, obviously, DJing is way more complicated than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's a DJ now. So.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what do you think, or what do you wish more people knew kind of about what you do and what makes it?
I don't mind the increase in DJs. It's just I wish people studied the history. You wouldn't want a guitarist to pick up a guitar and not listen to anything pre 1980. You won't want someone to really study the music, and DJing is that. It's not as old as some of these traditional instruments, but you have 1980s and 1990s DJs that have techniques that you can incorporate in your style today, which is with technology it has changed. So I wish people just did a little more research in the past, and that's it. It's not. I don't want to be one of those bitter DJs that hates on the new technology because I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just doing a little research and homework and studying and practicing. Some people don't even practice before they get up on stage, and that's really important. Use it as an instrument, you know.
Yeah.
I'll follow up on that because you play with groups like Free Soul, sort of,
Yeah.
and this is a lot of it. So yeah, you know, with the DJ and with with people playing what you're calling more traditional instruments, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the interaction, the vibe, and how? I think this is a good point. It's interesting, and how what you're doing, you know, is not separate from what they're doing, but is part of the overall.
Yeah, I mean,
creation of the music.
with Free Soul, it's really awesome to learn with such a talented group of musicians. I'm counting off beats. I'm paying attention to transitions and bridges because they rely on me to bring in music at certain times. It's all, you know, I have stems of what we're playing, what the band's playing over top of, but I'm bringing it in on time and making sure everything's, you know, syncopated and in rhythm, because if I mess that up, it's like the drummer will get off, Teddy will get off. We don't have an in-ear system, so it's all monitors. So if everything's not correct, it's kind of like the backbone of what's going on. You have to pay attention, and you can't just push play and sit there. And also, you know, backing up Free on vocals and certain things. When I'm looking at Elliot, who's plays guitar, making sure that he's paying attention to what I'm about to bring in, it's more than just pushing play. And that's another thing I wish people would learn is just kind of the instrumentation that you can use turntables with.
Okay, cool. So we've talked a lot about like Memphis music of the past.
Yeah.
Like obviously like there's a lot of famous musicians from here. So how do you see yourself kind of following the footsteps of people like Elvis or like Otis Redding, or is that just like
And those
you
are some
don't?
awesome
Yeah.
names. I mean, for me to take from the past and use what I do is kind of what I hope to do. I hope to take records from the past and bring them back to life. And I've always wanted to do a whole instrumental project with nothing but Stax music and put that out and just kind of, like I said, show people the homework and the research of the city, because there's so much history here. You know, when I got here, still to this day, I'm still learning about bands and Midtown scene, and certain guys will pop up that I've never heard of, but you know, you look into it and they've been playing for 20, 30 years here. So that's what I love about Memphis is the amount of musicians here. And I hope to, you know, inspire somebody to, you know, dig up my stuff in 30 years. That would be awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And then utilize what I put out in some way. If they wanted to flip it or take, you know, sample me, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So obviously the Memphis music scene like today isn't, you know, what it once was.
Yeah.
People would say that. So how do you think that like the city can improve that or like increase?
It's not from talent. There's
Yeah.
way too much talent here. It's a business side.
Mhm.
And I just find that, I don't know what happened, but it seems that the business side is lacking here. And the economy's bad here, so maybe that has something to do with it. Jobs, there's no jobs, so a lot of people can't pay their bills off of music. So I hope that changes and we can have more musicians make careers here. If I can help out in any way, that's kind of what I also aspire to do, is allow for people to start careers here, not just do it as a hobby, because the talent is unbelievable here. There's every type of musician, church musicians and students that are musicians. You can't walk a block without meeting a musician in Memphis.
Yeah. So who are some of your favorite like Memphis musicians like today?
Locally,
Yeah.
I love Memphis artists who I actually work with, and I'm blessed to work with, is Scooby. I love the hip hop scene here. I think there's a lot of up and coming hip hop, and it's people that are inspired by the past but also changing it, and that's what's important. You have the whole 3-6 Mafia sound, but you have artists that are coming out that are doing it their way, or taking the soul side of Memphis and putting it in hip hop. So Scooby's one. There's just too many to name.
Yeah. There's a lot
Yeah.
of options. Okay, so how do you see your career going like in the next 10, 20 years? Are you still gonna be in Memphis?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I love the road. I think that the road gives me an opportunity to learn, and if I can go to a different demographic of the country and bring back something to Memphis, I think that helps. think some DJs get planted in a certain city. They don't want to leave. They want to take that city over and run a little market. But as a DJ, I want to travel. I want to learn from a different crowd in a different city. What is popular here is not going to be popular in Portland, Oregon, or France or anything like that. So I want to take what people like and bring it back to wherever I'm at. And if that's here, then so be it. I'm really up in the air of where the road is going to take me. I'm excited about it, though. If I'm here in Memphis, I couldn't pick a better place to live. But if I'm somewhere else, it's because it was meant to be, as cliche as that sounds.
Yeah. So what would be your hopes for like the city of Memphis in 20 years as far as music goes?
I just hope it continues to evolve. I hope the sound continues to change, but doesn't follow trends. There's a lot of trends in popular music, so I hope that people continue to evolve the sound of music. And it's changing. You hear different styles. I think Free Soul was pretty awesome in doing that. They took a style of music, rock and hip hop, and they fused it together. So I hope that musicians here in 20 years can kind of show that they've learned something from what's popular now and even popular from the past. So evolution is kind of the key to music, I think, for me at least.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Do you have anything else to ask?
I don't know. You mentioned, and I'm just curious about this, because this is something a lot of people think about. And I think you're absolutely right about the business side. There's not. I talk about you look at Nashville. There's an infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
It's into the city itself, and it's not so much here. But then there's the flip side of that is that Memphis still has this, vibe to it.
There's a vibe.
So I don't know. I mean, as somebody who's has some success from here, and what could you see helping? I mean, what like if Memphis music returns to its glory years in 5 years or 10 years, what does it look like? Do you think?
I was really sad to see places like the High Tone close, and I think if we can maintain those kind of vibes amongst our venues and cult followings, then we can succeed. And just getting people out to shows, it's really hard to get consistent fan base to come out to shows. We have fans here. It's just about making them come out on a Tuesday night, even if it's raining. And sometimes it's difficult. Rain will stop a show altogether. So I think just having those small little clubs, packing them out on Sunday nights, Tuesday nights, is really important for the city to just maintain that small following, amongst musicians. Everybody wants to kind of blow up overnight, but that's not the way I've seen, my career happen. And just anybody that's successful, it takes time. You have to really practice and do those hole-in-the-wall gigs for zero money. Those are kind of things that will help the city out. Is maintaining a small fan base that can travel with the band to a certain venue. If they change venues, I want them to follow that band. And it's happening. You have those groups of people, but that's kind of what I see would help, just having a constant fan base, even if it's small.
Okay, cool. Good. Good.